Alright, part 3, Cabin Fever 2003, in-depth discussion and review. We left off with the...
We left off after the bonfire scene when they burnt the guy, and then they went looking for help the next day, and now they all got back into the cabin, and they're discussing, they're like, we burnt the guy alive, we gotta tell someone, da-da-da, as we were saying. And let's talk about that.
Also, Liebeck's working on the car, and Blondie's shooting away at the dog, and you're like, oh my goodness, this scene.
The car's fucked up, so they can't get out of there, so Bert's working on the car, and then Blondie's like with the gun, like totally retarded, like shooting at nothing.
Shooting at nothing, just totally acting.
And then Sean Hunter goes to a love scene with this soundtrack. And it's like, goes to like Sailor Moon music, and you're like,
and
what
he starts
the hell?
making out with Karen, and then he starts going downstairs.
He's like, I finally got to her after
and
high school and college, and she already got herpes
totally
and
let
everything.
on too. You're like, oh man, because freaking like it goes on for like 3 minutes of them kissing. You're like, oh, this is tight. And then freaking he whips out the hand, it's all the blood, and you're like, oh, it's all the corn syrup and like tissue.
And you're like, oh, she's got the herpes. She went to high school and college, and now he finally hooked up with her, and she's got the herpes.
And now Sean Hunter's got the herpes. Alright, so then they run out and they realize she's infected, and they all run in, and they're like, oh. And then the big fat guy takes charge again, and he's like, get out. He's like, stay in here. And then
he flips out like he's Doug Heffernan. It was like a Doug Heffernan blow up from King of Queens. Then they all search each other. It cuts to them like by the campfire with a flashlight.
They're like, alright, we gotta look at each other every night.
So then they decide to move Karen out to the shed. This is badass, and it's nighttime by this time.
This is fucked up. I'm gonna die in here.
It's badass. And they're like, it's only for a night, Karen, then we're gonna get help.
So then she stays in there in the barn.
Then it cuts to Sean Hunter in the woods with a bat.
Okay, he's walking around, and then he comes up on a house, and he's looking in a window, and it's like some chick. And then the husband comes up on him, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, my friend, she's sick. And he's like, you were sick.
It was just a curveball that Eli Roth threw in there, like, hey, he walks up and sees his naked wife.
And it's like hilarious.
Whatever, and then Marcy goes out to Karen, and by this time, Karen, the disease is spreading even more, and she's all fucked up. She's smoking a Marlboro.
Oh, yeah, and it shows, and she's like, you don't want to get infected. And the other chicks bring food out to her.
Smoking a Marlboro Light. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and she's getting more and more messed up.
And the guy's like, you are very sick.
Alright, so then Sean Hunter runs back to the cabin. They're like, hey.
Then they all start arguing with each other. This is the time where they start all turning on each other even more. Then Sean Hunter grabs them, and they're, what's his name, Blondie and the fat guy are fighting Bert. And then Sean Hunter grabs them both and separates them. And you're like, wow, what a badass.
And you're like, Sean Hunter's a badass.
So then Bert drinks water.
And he's like, dude, you just lost the bet. And he's like,
because they made the bet of not drink beer. So they
to drink beer the whole.
That's how they didn't get infected to this point.
But then they all started getting infected with the water and
And during this time that night, the random dog starts terrorizing them.
Terrorizing Karen, going at the barn, the dog.
Then it's an awesome sunrise shot.
And you're like,
And then Bert finally fixes the car.
So then they're like, alright, let's load up everyone to
That's
get Karen.
That's when they load up Karen, and she spits the blood. Oh, that's so amazing. If you're a horror fan, the gore. And this is amazing.
After they just clean the car up.
It just keeps on coming at you. You can't even.
So then.
You just love it if you're a horror fan.
And then Bert's like, hey, I'm still going to go and get help. And they're like, dude, you're going to ride in that car with all that blood?
It's awesome how they shot that.
So then freaking he goes to town.
So he drives off. He's like, "Oh, fuck off!"
And he's on. They start noticing he's messed up too. They're like,
Blondie comes out with this handkerchief.
Like, are you okay,
for the rest of the movie?
You're looking kind of sick. So then he shows up at the pancake store again.
Hold up, and then Jeff, the owner of the car, Blondie, he grabs the 2 Sixers.
Yeah,
and he goes walking
he
into
runs
the
out.
woods
He's
with
like,
a
"Hey,
handkerchief.
I don't want to get sick. I don't want any of us to get sick." And he just goes out to like a random cave.
And then it cuts to the random, like, so everyone's flipping out. And it's just Sean Hunter and Big Tits left in there. And she's like,
"Hey, you just know you're gonna die, and you just want to fuck somebody.
you know when you're on an airplane, you're
You
all
just
gonna
wanna do
crash,
somebody?
and you just
You're
want
like,
to grab
wow.
the person next to you and fuck him.
Wow, okay."
So he does a number on her back, as we all know.
And then he pours Listerine to like
that's dope.
sterilize his wiener. And you're like,
He's
"Wow."
like, this bitch has definitely got like 5 STDs.
Anyways, so freaking that goes down.
It's just so dirty, like the whole movie.
So then then the chick gets killed by the dog.
Bert makes it to the store.
Alright, going, no, Bert makes it to the store, freaking, he's like, my friends are sick at the cabin. And then the
And
guy's
he
like,
tells the guy of the owner of the store, the younger one, about the disease.
no, and this is
it's
where
the
Pancakes comes
part.
out, like, doing front
So
flips and, like,
random,
doing
I don't know
kicks.
why.
Like, doing ninja flips and kicks,
That's
and you're
probably
like,
why
what the
this
heck?
movie didn't get put into production, because
So
of
then
that
he bites
random
Liebeck,
part
he
in the
bites the
script.
fat kid, and then freaking he gets infected. And he's
And
like,
it goes to the actor, and he goes a total acting scene.
And
It's
he's
totally
like-
scripted
and he's
lines,
like-
and he's like, "There's some
he's
kids in
like-
the cabin. They
he's
got
like,
the
hey."
herpes."
he's like, "Hey, rifle." And they get the rifle, and then like the fat
He
kid
tells
gets the
his meathead
bullets,
son,
and they all freaking follow, and they go after him in the cabin.
and it's the, and then what's her name? Big Tits starts shaving her legs, but it doesn't show the whole
That
full
part,
part.
that scene's
That scene's iconic.
real tight.
That's
Where
why
she's
this
shaving and like the
that's why this
skin's
movie's
cutting
become
away,
a cult legend now.
because you can just feel the freaking horror, and you're like, oh, it's just so, oh.
And the soundtrack's amazing.
Anyways,
Then at this time it cuts to Sean Hunter investigating, and this is the
this is when
total
he comes
trailer
upon the
parts.
body.
This is why I saw this movie, because they showed.
He finds
like,
the hermit's body in
oh
the
my
water,
god!
and he
It
comes
just
down.
gets sicker and
he
sicker.
comes down the
They keep
ladder.
on topping the scene before the scene, and the scenes just get sicker and sicker.
He comes down the ladder, and he's like poking it like it's Stand By Me. He's poking it with the stick.
and he falls into the reservoir.
He flips
and it's
over the
just
freaking
so
body, and it looks so tight. It's
crazy.
all like deformed. It's like creepy and like skull and everything. And he
No,
falls
and at
right
this
on top
time,
of it. And
Bert-
you're like, oh, he's
Bert
infected.
was driving away with the car, but he somehow
He's getting
ends
all
up
shot
all the way
at.
back up at the cabin and in the woods. And then the guys are
The guys are
chasing him.
following him. He's putting blood all over
Barely
the
even
trees.
makes sense. It's like Nate Dunnick whole plot hole.
And then he makes it
again.
back to the cabin, and then they come in on the cabin, and he shoots him right on. And the guy falls down.
And
It's
then
pretty tight
it continues.
Because the guy falls and shoots the other guy.
No, shut up. That isn't even until later, you idiot. It shows the girl shaving her legs, big tits.
We already said
And
that.
no, it didn't show it
Alright,
completely.
go on.
Then it goes to that. And then she's walking outside to go and see Karen or whatever. And the dog attacks her outside.
Yeah, the dog attacks her and like leaves her foot and like
And
tears up and
Sean
kills
Hunter
her.
comes back
And
after
finds her
falling
body.
in the dam.
And he's like,
And he sees
effed up.
both of the two girls dead. And he
you're like,
ends up
no.
shooting the dog.
And he comes out and he kills the other chick with the shovel.
Oh my god,
you're
they
like,
just keep
oh,
on
this is
upping
so
the
wrong.
horror. It
Like,
was
this is so wrong. This is so wrong.
It was freaking awesome, and the blood was going all over his face. It's like Evil Dead
It's pretty tight.
style, where he has to kill them because they're cursed.
Alright, so Liebeck's dead. He's shot.
So he basically
Everybody's
puts
dead.
Karen to sleep, and he like realizes it's the water officially because he sees the dead body. He's like, "Don't
And then he
drink
starts
the water."
running out. Yeah, he runs out to nowhere in the middle of the woods. And he's like, "Don't drink the water, share." Shit. He's calling for shit.
Then it's the
And you're like,
cave
wow.
scene where he finds Grimm's
Oh yeah,
dead
he's in
body,
the
as
cave.
we know.
Cuts to him just
And
in
he
the
finds-
cave. And you're like, okay.
It's Eli Roth.
But it's iconic. It finds him and he's like cut in half, and it's like all the bugs and everything. And you're like, oh.
So then Sean Hunter gets the Jeep that Bert
Oh
left
yeah,
behind,
this is
and
where
he drives
like, the random,
deeper into
this
the
is where the
wood.
random scene happens where the deer that comes to the front windshield.
He throws like sliders, change ups, screwballs. Now he's throwing knuckleballs. Eli Roth is at
And
this
then
point
they got
in the
the
movie.
deer like moving the hoofs like inside the car. Like,
It's like you had the balls to put a
And then
prop
he
deer.
shoots it,
They
and
didn't
he
even have
shoots
that
it with
much
the
of a
BB
budget,
gun.
but he still decided to shoot it. It
shoots
was
the deer with the
questionable.
BB gun. And it's like, well, it's like
It's
a rifle.
tight when you still first see it, and it's just so much blood now at this point.
Anyways, yeah, he's covered in blood from the deer, and he shows up at the.
So the Jeep's totaled, And then he walks off to the trail, and this is the party scene where we see Giuseppe Andrews as Deputy Winston, and he's like giving a 15-year-old beer like a 40.
Yeah, he's like, drink up. And then freaking, he's like, dude, what's going on, man? And Winston, he's like, Winston, the tow truck never came, man. And then freaking Winston's like, dude, I had it sent. And he's like, what happened to you?
Then this is totally choreographed. And then he comes, then it's like the cop radio voiceover. And
they're like, there's some kids, they got a disease.
If you see him, shoot him on sight. And he's like, can you repeat that last part, please?
And he's like, can you repeat that last part, sir?
He's like, shoot him on sight.
It's hilarious.
And he knocks, then that's as we know, then he gets all those guys he knocks the guitar, the harmonica,
and then he gets a harmonica,
knocks Winston in the head with
like,
the flashlight.
And then he runs away.
And he walks onto the road like it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, and drops off. And then the semi-truck drops him off as the hospital, as we know.
And they're like, we need to know.
Okay, then this is the most random part in the whole movie. I don't know what. And they're wheeling Sean Hunter down the aisles. And you see the bunny in like it's Donnie Darko scene or whatever.
Like it's Donnie Darko, and you're like, what the why the bunny? Anyways.
Then they go to interview him, the cop, and he's just like,
we need to know we got this disease. And you're like, oh. Alright, so.
Winston ends up, and he's like tripping out. He's like, they're all dead. And it shows flashbacks.
And then it's showing them, like the cops, like at the store, like selling lemonade, and everybody's getting infected.
Shut up. No, Winston drops off, what's his name, at the creek.
Who?
What's his name? Winston drops him off at the creek the next day.
Oh yeah,
his
the
dead
cops.
body off at the creek.
Oh yeah, this is where they get to the cabin. The cops are burning the bodies.
Do we tell the part where Bert like shoots him and dies?
Yeah.
All in the cabin.
Anyways, so freaking, this is where the cops are cleaning up the cabin, seeing the burn everything, taking care of it, and then they go to the freaking store, and then
then
yeah,
he tells Winston to take care of Sean Hunter's body, and Winston just throws him in the creek, so it infects the whole town, as we know. And it shows Jeff come out of the woods, Blondie, with his handkerchief, and he's like,
"Oh, I'm not dead. I lived."
And he goes to the final crime scene, and we see so much blood again.
I lived, and he comes out, and
he's like, "I made it."
And he gets all shot up, and he's got a total vest on with exploder pellets that the grips gave him. All right. So then freaking, then it cuts to the store scene again, the little store town, and freaking the cops are drinking the lemonade. And the kids get the
lemonade water from the creek where Sean Hunter's dead body is. That scene.
And then the freaking black, like, freaking G's roll up, and they're walking in the store, and they're like... And
he's like, what's up, my...
And then freaking it's the white store owner. He's like, oh, what's up, my nigga? And he's just like, here's your gun.
He goes to get the rifle.
He gets the rifle, and he's like, I got it all polished up. He's like, yeah, here you go. It's got a sniff sight on it.
And it shows the whole town drinking lemonade and getting infected, as we said.
And then it's hilarious.
It shows this semi-truck setting up a sequel that says Down on the Home Spring Water.
Oh, yeah.
Down home
like the water's going everywhere, infecting everyone. It's dope. So then freaking and then if you watch it all the way through the credits at the end.
Cuts to the credits and it's like a 90s rock song. Like a whack-ass Coldplay.
But all the way at the end of the credits, the white guy again, and he's like, word.
Alright, final thoughts.
I thought it was
9.5 out of 10. It's
pretty dope.
It's hard to call any movie a 10, but this is amazing original horror.
Yeah, give us some comments. Tell us
simple concept. Kids go to cabin, but the deputy's script is amazing.
To Nate Dunny.
They screwed up the sequel to Cabin Fever.
I know they could have done. I don't know why Eli.
How they made it all
they
just
kept
in
Eli
the
Roth
prom.
doing the sequel.
They should have made the kids go to the prom, then go to a cabin. So it would have been an actual Cabin Fever kind of setup.
All right, let's see here. I thought it was tight. Shout out time, Eric Viewholler. He's a total pimp.
Alright, check out. Leave a comment. Hit us up.
Drop us a line. Alright, peace.